few weeks ago, I did an episode about my morning routine as it looks like right now. And I immediately got an email about that. Looks like that sounds like the ideal. It sounds awesome. But I have like babies that wake up at 5 a.m. and 5:30 a.m. and I cannot wake up before them. Like, what do you suggest? And here's the thing, that sounds so familiar because we've had 4 kids and I feel like all kids seem to go through this phase where they wake up at 5 a.m. or 5:30 in the morning and it's so hard. So I related to that very much. And I know how I coped with it with my first 1 and 2 kids. I would meet a friend at like 7:30 or 8 a.m. and we would go running together every morning with our kids loaded up in the stroller and we would talk about how much we didn't sleep and how early they woke up. But I have since learned that there are way better options that we've used with our other kids. And so if I can shortcut that for you, I want to share some things that really have worked for our family to just get you brainstorming about what could be possible for you, because we are all different. We have different circumstances. We have different marriages. We have different children. I don't think that what worked for me is definitely going to work for you, but I want to get your wheels turning about what you might be able to figure out for yourself. And sometimes when you have some concrete ideas, it's easier to riff on those and say, that doesn't work, but I could do this instead. I want these episodes to be exactly what you need. So please take a moment and either shoot me an email to ask a question, or even better, head over to thrivingandmotherhoodpodcast.com/podcast and you can ask a question there directly with a little voicemail on your phone or computer, and just ask me a question about anything that we've covered on the show. It can be about family systems or structures or planning effectively, or how do you do things with your little kids at home, or soul pillar or homeschooling, like whatever it is that you want some help with, survival mode. Please ask. If you have the question, somebody else does too. So please be brave and get the question asked that you want so that these podcast episodes can be tailored to you and what you need right now in this season of life. I'm here to help.
Hi, I'm Jessica Jackson, and this is the new way to thrive in motherhood by leaning into who you are, what you love, your unique family situation and personal mission to create a life that you actually want to live. I want to invite you to join me in saying no to the life of the exhausted supermom, burnout, victim thinking, being pulled in so many directions, suffering through survival mode, or being lost in motherhood, and say yes to building strong families and moving forward on our greatest goals in order to create a fulfilling life that we are excited to wake up to each day and become a soaring mother. This is the Thriving in Motherhood podcast.
I want to take just a moment and share a free gift that I've created for you called 3 Secrets to Do More of What You Love Without Hiring a Babysitter. This workshop is available for you to go watch right now and start taking action on so that you can do more of what you want to do, more of what's on your heart, more of what is important to you. With your children at home. You don't have to wait for them to be in school or for you to have loads of time. There are ways to start moving forward right now. And you can check that out at thrivingandmotherhoodpodcast.com/workshop. All right, let's talk about what it looks like to have this morning routine when you've got little kids waking up at 5 a.m., where it really does not make sense to wake up at like 4 a.m. or 3 a.m. to do those things that you would like to do in the morning without kids. Now, I will say in those seasons that I mentioned where my kids are waking up so incredibly early, I feel like I would go like many weeks and then I would just get so desperate. I'd be awake at 3 or 4 in the morning and be like, I am taking time by myself, and just be really tired that day. I don't think that that's the best option. So let me talk through some things that changed for me to be able to get to where we are now, which is our kids stay in bed. And part of it's age, but part of it is, again, like we've got little kids. So this is what we did. So I think first of all, I had a switch of what was reasonable. Like I had to come to this awareness in my own brain that it wasn't reasonable for me to start my day doing kid things at 5 a.m. just because the child woke up. Like that was letting this child run my schedule instead of setting the schedule as the parent. Now, I know saying like already I'm like, it doesn't matter. They just wake up when they want to wake up. I know. I'm not saying like I actually scheduled my children. Like they still wake up whenever they wake up. However, it helped me to not feel like a victim, to realize that I could set boundaries and I could set expectations with even what I was doing. Like maybe I can't control what they are doing or when they're waking up, but I could choose what I did during that time, whether they woke up or not. And so kind of stop letting my kids run the show when it came to the mornings. Now, again, is it clean No. Was it messy in practice? Absolutely. But that was a shift that I had to make in my thinking before I could start doing any of these other things. So kind of my first baby step, once I realized like, wait a minute, I don't have to let my kids run the show in the morning, that there are important things for me to be doing that I need to do. Then I started just doing it where like, if they woke up in the morning, they could be downstairs, they could be around me or wherever I was, but I was going to be like, no, I'm not answering your questions right now. Like I'm ignoring you basically right now. Like you can be by me, but I am not available. I'm available like the entire rest of the day, but I am not available right now. This is for me and my time. And so like it takes a little while for them to get the hang of it, but eventually they're like, oh, okay, I'm either in bed or I can be here quietly, but mom, then I can play, but I can't be with mom, like hanging out with her. So that kind of works for a while. Then I realized like, all right, they need something to do because like eventually the novel, like, I don't know. It just, like I said, it was messy. So something else that we implemented that maybe you've heard on here before is Big Five. So I would hold up with little fingers and practice with them at night saying, okay, when you wake up, you're going to make your bed and brush your teeth and hair and say your prayers and look at a book and what was it? Maybe it was brush teeth, brush hair, make bed, look at a book, say prayers. That's probably what it was. Anyway, so I would practice with them and we'd trace their hand out on a piece of paper and write it down. Now, here's the thing. If that was my number one goal at that time, I would have been helping my kids every step of the way. And that's what I would do. I'd like spend a few mornings helping them work through every step of the way. But then I would like, that's like priority number 2. Priority number 1 is I'm working on my things. And so if they came to talk to me, I'd say, oh, what do you need to do for your Big Five? And that it just put it back on them. Now, did sometimes they go off and play instead of do their Big Five? Absolutely, yes. But I was okay with that because the whole point was they had something that they were supposed to be doing, that they could be doing, that bought me time. And even if they didn't do it perfectly every day or they only did 1 or 2 things, it did lay a foundation as they got older to actually be successful in doing those things. And then as I started sleeping in more, as they got a little bit older, then I could do my things and then facilitate the Big Five. So it's kind of like this long-term strategy. But even if you just say like, hey, these are the things you need to be doing and practice with them at night. And if they come and talk to you, you can say, let's do them. And little kids are the best at this. Okay. My 3-year-old or my 2-year-old is way better at this than my older kids. So if your kids are little, start young, start with like 18 months. They can get this. They're very smart. Okay. Another thing that we did over time, and this was more on my husband, is that we kind of changed our mindset of like, okay, kids are going to wake up whatever they want, it's fine, to no, 5 a.m. is not reasonable and you need to stay in bed until 6 or 7, whatever time. 7, I think is what we said. Like that's when it's reasonable for you to wake up. You cannot be up before then. Now here's the thing. If the kids wake up, I'm like, no, I don't want to spend 30 minutes making them go back to bed. I want to do my thing. Like I don't want to do that. So what sometimes happened was I would just be super irritated and put them back to bed for 30 minutes and then have like 10 minutes before it's 7 o'clock and come back out and get them. Like it just felt like such a waste of time instead of just letting them hang out with me. But my husband would often be the one that was like, no, this is ridiculous. And would get up and spend time putting them to bed so that I could get up and start working on whatever on my morning stuff. So he would do that for a while. In fact, at 5 a.m., they had this rhythm going when my oldest was little and was waking up at 5. He would like go down, keep all the lights off, get her a little bit of yogurt, give her the yogurt, put her back in bed and say like, no, you have to go back to sleep. So that was kind of the strategy for the first 2. With our children, as they got with our next 3 and 4, we realized like our kids don't actually like, they want to follow the expectation of staying in bed, but they don't know what the time is. And the sun is always changing. It's unpredictable depending on what season it is. So that's not even a reliable measure of like, hey, the sun's up. I'm like, no, it's 6 a.m. and the sun's up, but like that does not mean you can come out yet. So what we did is we got one of those like okay to wait clocks. I don't remember which one we got. It was off Amazon. I can look it up and put it in the link. It was one of the cheaper ones. I didn't get the super fancy expensive ones. But basically it's like red if you need to be in bed. We're like, the light is red, stay in bed. Or it's green, you can get out. And that really worked well for our 4-year-old. She's older than that now, but we got it when she was 4 and she still uses it. But it's just like so helpful because then they become empowered. I'm no longer the bad guy. It's like, no, the light's red, you're in bed. Like that's clean, clear line. And you can do it gradually too. Like if your child's waking up at 5:30 or 6, like just add 5 or 10 minutes to it and just slowly extend that bedtime. The other thing I learned is that if kids are waking up, let's see, this book that I have, Healthy Sleep Habits, Healthy Child. Now, I have read loads of sleep books. I do not swear by any of them. But one of the little gems I got out of here was that if you have a baby or toddler that's waking up at 5 a.m., it could be because they're overtired and you actually need to put them to bed earlier. Crazy, I know. But we did that with some of our kids in these seasons. Like if we were putting to bed at 7 or 8, we would bump it up. He said sometimes even as early as 5:30 in the evening. It would extend their sleep time in the morning. And lo and behold, it did. We probably put our kids to bed by like 6:30 when they were little. And that did help sleeping a little bit. But it's an experiment. It's just an option. It's a wild card. But again, we're throwing out ideas of things to brainstorm on. So do I still have kids that wake up and join me? Sometimes, yes. Do I sometimes sleep in later than I want? So I'm still doing a super abbreviated version of my routine? Absolutely. But I hope that some of these things maybe help you with those younger kids at home to at least start experimenting and thinking about what some possibilities might be. Another thing that we did, actually, let me end on this, is I just had books by their bed that they could go and look at. And then the other thing, food. Kids are hungry when they first wake up. So my little kids have we have had frozen pancakes or muffins in the freezer that they can go get when they wake up if they're hungry. So I don't have to stop what I'm doing to go get them food. Or apples. And that's pretty much it. Like there's either something frozen in the freezer for them to eat or apples that they can eat in the morning if they feel like they need to eat something. And that also buys me a little bit of time before we jump into morning routine and breakfast things. Okay, I just want to really encourage you here that if you are in a season where the kids are waking up early, I want you to take a moment and just write out a list of your ideal morning routine. And then put it somewhere super obvious where you're going to see it all day long. And then let yourself take all day to do it. Because those things are the things that are going to fill your bucket. They're going to recharge you. They're going to help you be the person you want to be. It's going to take care of your physical body, mental body. You're taking care of your physical body. It's going to take you mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and allow you to keep pouring out. It'll keep you not being a victim if you're able to work on those things. Doesn't matter if it happens at 1. It doesn't matter if you could do one thing at 11 a.m. and another thing at 3 p.m. another thing at 6 p.m. Okay, it doesn't matter if it takes you all day and in little chunks. But what happens is that you will then build this into your identity of I am someone who exercises. I am somebody who journals. I am someone who reads scriptures. I am someone who takes care of myself. I am someone who makes myself a priority. I am not a victim. And you will also reap the benefits of doing those things. And as your life shifts, whether it's your kids go to school so you can do it after they leave, or your kids start sleeping in so you can do it early in the morning, or you start, or your kids get the hang of staying in the room until 7 a.m., and they've got a snack that they can eat when they first wake up and books to look at or things to do, or they do their big 5 or whatever the priorities are in your home, it will then empower you to just condense everything into one time and, have that amazing morning routine, but stick with it and know that the victory is being able to just do the little bit every day. And your kids will see too, like, this is what mom does. And another, even if it's just powering through too, like this is something that mom does. And the beautiful thing is you will teach them, this is what I can do too. And then they will start getting curious and they will be like, oh, I want to exercise. I want to exercise with you. I want to exercise by myself. I want to write in my own journal. I want to read my own scriptures because they see you doing that. So don't despair if you're in a season where you cannot be alone. Know that really good things can come from just being intentional about doing it anyway, even though it's not ideal. And that have a long-term vision, have a long-term plan for what this is going to grow into for you, but get really clear about what that long-term vision is and start working on it now. So please take a moment and ask a question that will inform next week's podcast episode. Could be about anything with your, life with little kids at home, getting them to play by themselves, homeschooling, adding in structures, routines, your own planning, the sky's the limit. What's your question? Please leave a message for me that we can play on the show and talk about. And if I don't know it, we'll get a guest to talk about it. But this way, every episode is powerful for you, meeting you where you're at right now. If you have the question, somebody else does too. So please take a moment to ask it. And remember, I've got that Made to Soar Next 90 Days program that's available for you to go check out right now if you want more help with this. If this is something you're like, man, I need more help. I need accountability. I need to figure out how to make all the pieces of my day fit together and figure out what my priorities are. Like, that is what this Made to Soar Next 90 Days program is all about, is to help you go from surviving to building in these essential practices to help you be successful so that you can spend your time and energy on the things that matter most to you, so that you have a very unique life that you can be excited about, that uses your gifts, your talents, your personal mission, and allows you to thrive in that for yourself and also for your family, that you're intentional about both. So you can check that out at thrivinginmotherhoodpodcast.com/made to soar. Learn about it more at the free workshop I've created for you, thrivingmotherhoodpodcast.com/workshop, which is 3 secrets to do more of what you love without hiring a babysitter. I hope you have a wonderful day. I'm excited to talk with you more next week. Today, I'm excited to share with you about the Made to Soar Next 90 Days program. It is a self-paced online course with lots of interaction from me that has transformed the lives of women from all around the world as they have learned to build unique family systems that support them in their own unique life circumstances, that allow the necessary and essential things of life to get done and leave time and energy to do what matters most to them. I'm going to let some women who have been through the program tell you a little bit more about their experience now.
Just mucking through the day was just survival. And then it was like the thought of trying to do anything extra was like, well, that's just never gonna happen.
I think with Made to Soar, I don't know, I was probably hoping that it'd be the magic bullet for morning.
And we had no systems in our house. I mean, we had no morning, we had no routines. Like, we were,
how can I infuse meaning into my life? And even if I do the same thing, how can I think about it differently so that I'm feeling fulfilled?
And so that was my goal in joining the Next 90 Days, was to figure out how to kind of handle all of these different domains. How do I become intentional with all of these things and make sure that I'm meeting my own expectations?
Now I have systems set in place that, like, you know, things like the laundry, just automatic, things get done.
Because I was able to have the foundation of some of these systems and routines, when things got crazy, I could still go back to those and be like, okay, well, at least the laundry got done. At least my kids got fed. At least I read the Bible and did my workout today.
So it helped me go through a couple big moves and big changes and to keep some level of stability for the family.
figuring out how do I homeschool? How do I do it with consistency and some level of discipline? And then how do I build a business and still find meaningful work outside of my home? All of that, I wouldn't have known how to organize it. It was all kind of just like spaghetti in my brain.
With Made to Soar, just gaining clarity about what I wanted my days and weeks to look like, my hours and my spare minutes.
This is how we get to where we want to go. And just changing those expectations is helping me be happier.
You know, I have power to change my circumstances, right? That I can put in new routines. I can solve some of these problems. I can think about things differently and realize that I have power to be in a better place.
Where you are planted, watch the blossoms grow.